10 Nights of Dreams, Natsume Soseki. The 7th night. I am on a large ship of some sort. Every day and every night, without the slightest pause, this ship spews black smoke and cuts through the waves as it moves forward. The noise is tremendous, yet I have no idea where it is going. All I know is that a sun, looking like a red-hot iron tongue, emerges from the bottom of the waves. It reaches the very top of the tall mast and hangs there for a while. But before I know it, it overtakes our large ship and moves ahead. And finally, with a sizzle like a red-hot iron tongue, it sinks back into the bottom of the waves. Every time this happens, the blue waves far off in the distance boil over in a deep crimson. Then the ship chases after its trail with a tremendous roar, but it never catches up. One day, I caught hold of one of the ship's crew and asked him, "Is this ship heading west?" The sailor looked puzzled. He stared at me for a while and eventually asked back, "Why?" "Because it seems to be chasing the setting sun." The sailor burst into loud laughter. Then he walked away. The end of the sun heading west. Is it the east? Is that true? The home of the sun rising in the east. Is it the west? Is that true too? We are but bodies on the waves. "Let us drift, he chanted. I went to the bow and saw a large group of sailors gathered together, hauling in a thick halyard. I felt incredibly lonely and insecure. I didn't know when I would be able to go ashore, and I didn't know where we were going. The only certainty was that we were cutting through the waves, spewing black smoke. The waves were exceedingly vast. They looked limitlessly blue. Sometimes they turned purple. Only the area immediately around the moving ship was constantly foaming pure white. I felt overwhelmingly lonely. I thought I would rather throw myself overboard and die than stay on a ship like this. There were many passengers. Most of them appeared to be foreigners, but they had all sorts of faces. When the sky grew cloudy and the ship pitched, a woman leaned against the railing, weeping incessantly. The handkerchief she used to wipe her eyes looked white. However, she was wearing a Western-style dress that looked like printed cotton. When I saw this woman, I realized that I was not the only one who was sad. One evening, I went out on the deck and was looking at the stars alone, when a foreigner came up to me and asked if I knew anything about astronomy. Finding life meaningless, I was even contemplating death. I had no need to know about astronomy. I stayed silent. Then the foreigner told me a story about the 7 stars at the tip of Taurus. He said that the stars and the sea were all created by God. Finally, he asked me if I believed in God. I looked up at the sky and remained silent. Another time, I entered the saloon and saw a young woman in a flashy dress sitting with her back to me, playing the piano. Beside her stood a tall, fine-looking man, singing a song. His mouth looked incredibly large. Yet, the two of them seemed completely indifferent to anything other than themselves. They seemed to have even forgotten that they were on a ship. I felt more and more desolate. Finally, I made up my mind to die. And so, one night, when there was no one around, I took the plunge and jumped into the sea. However, the very moment my feet left the deck and my connection to the ship was severed, I suddenly found my life precious. From the bottom of my heart, I wished I hadn't done it. But it was too late. Willing or not, I had to enter the sea. Only the ship seemed to have been built very high. My body had left the ship, but my feet did not easily reach the water. However, having nothing to grab onto, I gradually drew closer to the water. No matter how much I pulled my legs up, the water came closer. The color of the water was black. Meanwhile, the ship passed by, spewing its usual black smoke. Realizing for the first time that it would have been better to stay on the ship, even one whose destination was unknown, and yet unable to act upon that realization, I fell quietly toward the black waves, embracing infinite regret and terror.